So glad you're with us on Elevate Your Wealth. Brad Johansson along with Mark Stimpson, Casey Elkins, Elevated Financial Management. We're glad you're with us. I'm always glad to be with you too.
Yeah, we're very excited to be with you today, Brad. I know I love working with my son-in-law, but for you viewing today, hopefully you're really going to enjoy our show today. I think we're going to talk about 3 subjects or so that I think are going to be very interesting for you. And as we know, I love coming and doing this show with you guys and our viewers. I just want to thank you because you're the reason that we do this. We truly want to help educate people so that they can have a successful retirement.
It is a beautiful thing. The education is within this. We have now kind of started the show with the book. It's a gift to you. Sending it out for free. You can scan the QR code to breaktheglass.com is the website if you'd like that as well. It is that user's guide on the complications of retirement. And we hit a lot of these things that are in the book in these shows to try and help you. But you then have to help yourself. We'll get to that point after this. Let me begin with an age-old rule. And I want to wonder whether or not this age-old rule is aged out. 4% rule has long been, if you get to this number and you take out 4%, your retirement's always going to be good. I'm going to go dividends versus this 4% rule. Starting with $500,000, we do a portfolio over 20 years. You want to lead me into this on the 4% rule? And can I start with, is it even worth it to still be talking about a 4% rule?
It's worth talking about because it's something that gets talked about a lot in the media. And a lot of planners use the 4% rule, right? And essentially what that says is that you can take 4% out of your portfolio, and that should last you the rest of your lifetime, adjusting for inflation. You shouldn't run out of money. That's the first thought. The second is using dividends to create income in your retirement. And so what this study did is it kind of compared those two side by side. That 4% piece won out in the sense that it was adjusting for inflation over time, but the dividends were creating higher income from the start. And so which one is better? And not only that, but are those really your only 2 options? And I think that's a big part of what we want to talk about today. And as you mentioned, Brad, in the book, we talk a lot about income because that is the foundation of a solid retirement plan. That's the first step. If we don't have income that we can depend on in our retirement, we're really going down the wrong path to start with. And, it's fun to talk about Roth conversions and do we use dividends and these different things. But the reality of it is, if you've ever seen a house being built or if you've ever built a house yourself, the first step you take is setting the foundation. And solid income is the foundation. A Roth conversion, tax efficiency, all those things, those are putting up the walls. That's putting the roof on. But if all those things are great, but then we have a market volatility event like we've experienced a number of times over the more recent years and over the last couple decades. If that blows apart our income plan, there goes the foundation of the plan. And so it really does come back to starting the right way from the very beginning to create the income in a way that's solid and gives you confidence to actually be able to go spend in your retirement.
To go along with what Casey is mentioning, in our office, we try and keep it simple. We have a red bucket, a yellow bucket, and a green bucket. And they're strategically built differently. The yellow bucket is our liquidity bucket. It's our what we call bank inventory, how much checking and savings you have. You need anywhere from 3 to 6 to 12 months of liquidity all the time because life just happens, right? The red bucket is the money that we want to grow. That's going to help us with inflation. That is our long-term growth bucket. That's usually, for us, we like equities in that bucket. We're not big on bonds. They can have a place, but again, the red bucket is for long-term growth. The green bucket is what Casey was just talking about. That is our foundation. And what is it? It is always going to be income. You can have the greatest 401k plan, but take that statement that shows you got $2 million in your 401k, take it over to a McDonald's and ask them for a burger. What are they? They're going to look at you and start laughing. They don't care if you got $2 million in that because you haven't turned it into income yet, right? So it's always going to boil back for us for income. And that's what we're going to talk about in this show, the importance of having a solid plan, because if we've got income that's not based necessarily on the returns from the market, we can be successful even when the market it's not behaving like we all want it to go up forever. All of us would like that, but that's not reality, right? And we've been on the longest bull run in market history. So again, I think we believe the market spanking is coming. We just don't know when. It's incredible, the volatility that day in and day out you viewers are dealing with. You're seeing it. We look at it every day, want to know how the stock market's doing. We share things with our client base. So, but again, volatility can be good at the right time, right? It can give us buying opportunities, especially if we're younger. But volatility, when we get older and we need to begin to bring income out of our savings or out of our 401ks, and the market then has a big tank of 20, 30, 40% or more, now we could be in big trouble. And that's why we need to have a solid plan so that no matter what the market does, we feel good in our office because our clients are going to be successful no matter what the market is doing.
You know, and I mean, we can look at bonds, right? This article specifically talks about dividends and the 4% rule, just taking money out of your investment accounts.
Yeah.
But what about bonds or laddering CDs, right? Those are things that still get discussed. But each of these things has a potential downside, right? And what it really boils back to is what is the right one in your plan? And that question is so important because we have a lot of folks that come in our office that have a pension from Boeing or a state pension. They were a teacher. And so they might have a great deal of their income already taken care of by their pension and Social Security. And that allows them to adjust how their investments are set up. They may not need to rely on those investments as much for income. That being said, we have more people come into our office that don't have a pension and only have Social Security. And so it's on the stress, the pressure is on their investment portfolio to create that income for their retirement. And that stress, that pressure on that portfolio is something that doesn't get discussed enough to make sure that people are confident about how that income comes in.
Let me ask about this. If we're trying to produce a higher amount, higher income, that can help us on dollars, yet hurt us on purchasing power as we're still trying to grow. Oh, nice face on that, Mark. Well, why is that significant?
It's and you know, there some of the person actually that came up with the 4% rule. His biggest thing or worry that he has going forward is what you just mentioned, inflation. Now, there are others like Dr. Wade Pfau, Moshe Molesky, that would argue that the biggest risk that they believe clients are facing is what we call longevity risk, how long we live. The longer we live, that's going to multiply the risks on so many other things. Maybe getting older, we're going to have a greater need for what we talked about, long-term care. What about inflation risk or the average bear market showing up in a person's, retirement lifespan? So again, the 4% rule, Wade Pfau would argue that needs to be lowered, not increased. And so again, and he's basing that on people are living longer today and the volatility of the market. And so, and we kind of agree with a lot of that. And that's why our clients' portfolios start with guaranteed income. And if you have a pension, great, but pensions have become a thing of the past. I'm not going to have one. Casey's not going to have one. I don't think you're going to have one, Brad, right? See, so we have to create our own. What's the safest and best way to do that? That's what we're going to discuss here in this article.
All of this is part of a plan. And everything that we discuss here is in part of a domino effect that if you don't get it all right, it can affect everything else, especially over a 30-year span. So how do we figure out the one that's right for you? Because when we discuss these dividends versus 4%, there is not one set rule because your retirement should be different than everybody else's. And once we get all of that blood work together, which is all of your accounts put together, then we can put together a complimentary written financial plan. Need your help to reach out and say, I'm ready for some help from some experts who've done it hundreds of times. 844-342-7142. Let's chat on the phone. See if it works for you. Let's get together in person to see if we can put together this complimentary written financial plan that will last. 844-342-7142. I want to talk about longevity because it is more and more impactful on what you're going to do and how you're going to make your money last for the long term when we come back.
Call 844-342-7142 right now for your own written financial plan. Having a clear path to retirement is more than just your savings. This review will include a complete risk analysis on your portfolio, a deep dive fee X-ray to determine how much you are and could be paying on those investments, a tax reduction report, and healthcare and legacy planning for you and your estate. To begin your retirement readiness review, call Casey, Mark, and the team at 844-342-7142 or use the QR code to schedule your appointment right away. Whether your retirement is coming soon or you want to be certain you can stay retired, the written financial plan will help guide you through your retirement planning journey. Call Mark, Casey, and the team at 844-342-7142 or use the QR code to schedule your meeting today.
You've got quite an extensive resume. Wow, so many years of management. Bet that was fun. So this job requires basic knowledge of the social media and video platforms, content creation, and SEO. How proficient are you in those areas?
Going back to work after retiring is not ideal. Plan your retirement right. Call now for your own complimentary portfolio review and tax analysis.
Glad you're with us on Elevate Your Wealth. Brad Johansson along with Mark Stimpson, Casey Elkins. It is Elevated Financial Management, and putting a plan together is our desire for you to make this last because there are so many pieces to the puzzle. And my goodness, our country's getting old. I'm part of that. By 2030, 1 in 5 of us are going to be 65 or older.
Yep.
I'm in that Mark's raising his hand too. By 2050, it's going to be 1 in every 4 Americans are 65 or older, and we're living longer. I mentioned to you guys on this program, Mom's 97 and still working out, still working through that, and who would have guessed? So do I have those genes that I'm going to live to 100? Is that part of the tree? And what's the difference, I ask both of you, of planning for a 20-year retirement where you're going to go at 85 or a 35? Mom's going to be in a 40-year retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a big difference in making money last for that long, and America is going to learn the lesson, right? How do we plan for it?
It's going to be a hard lesson for a lot of people. This is something that longevity risk, as we were just mentioning, Dr. Wade Pfau, he definitely believes this is the risk that doesn't get talked about enough, because if we've got to double the amount of our lifespan from 20 to 40 years in retirement, how much more pressure does that put on our money? And I love another point, a study that John Hancock did, said people are less prepared, though, for health, lifestyle, and social sides of a long life than they are the financial side. So we talk about this all the time. There is so much more to true retirement planning than just the money side. Okay. Now we all know. Now you mentioned your mom, 97. I just lost my mother in November. A few months back, and she was 92. But my grandfather, on my dad's side, he ended up with Alzheimer's. He didn't die till he was 97.
Wow.
And his wife, my grandmother, was 92. So again, I've got some longevity genes on my side of the family. So we want to plan for that with clients. In fact, there's been some studies done that they think one of the fastest growing segments in the United States right now is people that are reaching 100, not 90, but 100. And they think that's going to continue to rise as we have the medical advances that we're having. So again, if you are not talking about with your planner about longevity risk, then I think it's a big disservice to viewers watching. You need to be working with someone that feels this could be an issue, because if you don't, and you live a long time, but you didn't plan for that, the last thing we want is for a client that's 90 and they run out of money, but they're still in great health. How did that work out for them, right? So we want to that's why we believe in income that will not terminate until the second death occurs, or the first death if you're single or a widow. This is why the right type of planning is critical in retirement.
In that longevity piece, we refer to that as the great risk multiplier.
Yeah.
Because you just have more exposure to every risk that every retiree is already worried about.
Yeah.
You have more exposure time to taxes going up. You have more exposure time to inflation. You have more exposure time to risk in the market. All of these things start to compound. And so you go from a 20 to a 40-year retirement. If you just assume that everything else is static, that's already taxing on the finances. But then when you add in all those other risk areas and 20 years of additional time exposure to those things, that starts to have potentially a devastating impact, not to mention how that longevity piece plays into the emotional satisfaction that comes with retirement as well, and your social network and all the things that you want to do in your retirement. And so there's a lot of pieces to figure out. It's not a simple math equation. There's so much more to it.
And yet, there's a lot of math to this, because we understand that there are a lot of you viewers who are hearing from your advisor, don't worry about this tax thing. You're only 63, maybe you're 65. You've got another 8 years. You've got another 10 years to worry about this tax thing before we have to do anything about it. Many people are getting the wrong advice.
Yep.
That if you're going to live, and once the RMDs start, you've got another 30 years of RMDs. If there are things, if you're not planning for conversions or strategies to keep more money in your pocket so you can live another 25 years, you're listening to the wrong person. And there's a lot of noise out there that says, don't worry about this, you've got time. We kind of take that hint from the government.
Yeah, I just want to say this. This is why we're very proud in our office. We have a CPA on our staff. And so tax planning, because Casey and I, for long time now, have been talking about what we call the RMD tax torpedo. And it comes out of the boat, right? But it gets under the water and you don't see it. Then all of a sudden it hits. We're working with some clients at the moment where their RMD is going to generate probably close to $200,000 a year of income that they truly don't need. So what's the best way to use those dollars that are having to come out no matter what, even if they don't want to use them? So again, this is where planning, we can't overemphasize to you viewers today, please give us a call, because this is going to happen to all of us at some point in time, some sooner than others. Right now, we know the RMD required age is 73. Now, it is moving to 75 for those that were born 1960 or later. But again, it's coming, and it's coming for all of us, and we better have a plan for it, because if you don't, that's why we do a lot of Roth conversions for what you mentioned.
Yeah.
How great is it to turn taxable money into tax-free money? Now, you paid money on the initial, like when we do a conversion, but all the growth that you'll get after that conversion is completely 100% tax-free. We want to create as much of that for our clients as we possibly can.
It's a challenge. We know it's a challenge. And your challenge may be different than everybody else's. And as longevity continues to creep on this, when we talk about numbers, it's data. You're going to be in that boat where you're trying to figure out, how long can I float? 844-342-7142. It's putting together a complimentary written financial plan based on the genes that you're dealing with, the family situation that you have, the understanding that this may go on for quite some time. And if your greatest fear is I'm going to run out of money before my last breath, it's increasing. When do you want to get started? We're offering that appointment for you just to try and figure it out. It doesn't create all the answers. It creates that foundation that we talk about. Here's our starting point. How do we take it through? 844-342-7142. Can we get together? I've got some more stuff to talk about. Clients maximizing their life insurance policies on the end of this longevity question? Let's answer that when we come back.
Call 844-342-7142 now to receive your complimentary tax map with your written financial plan. Learn multiple strategies that can protect you from higher taxes now and in the future. Taxes are a threat to your financial stability in retirement. Protect yourself from the potential threat of rising taxes. As a retirement planning financial advisory firm, Casey, Mark, and the team will help you navigate the financial waters to pursue your retirement goals. Call 844-342-7142 today. Casey, Mark, and the team offer inclusive retirement services, such as investment directives for your portfolio, income-producing strategies, and wealth preservation plans for your family and legacy. Call Mark Casey and the team at 844-342-7142 right now for your complimentary tax map with your written financial plan. Discover tax strategies to keep more of what you have saved in retirement, or use the QR code below to schedule today.
Hey, glad you're with us on Elevate Your Wealth. Brad Johansson, Mark Stimpson, Casey Elkins, Elevated Wealth Management. The idea is the details. It's all in the details of trying to figure out how to put this plan together. It's why the number's on your screen. If you feel motivated to that, that's what we're looking for, is to try and help educate you, put together a written financial plan. On the edge of longevity that we left in the last segment, Mark, a lot of people have life insurance policies as we go into these elder years, and I'm including you. Casey's other years.
He's a pup.
But as you and I have gone into, we've had a lot of people in that who've been paying on these things and paying on these things and paying on these things, and they'll come into your office and go, I've been paying on this thing forever. Can you look at this and see whether or not this is worth me to keep paying on this, or what do I do? Take me into this life insurance game, because it's a new world of life insurance where we are right now.
And that's the problem. A lot of clients, they get discouraged, right? Like you said, maybe they've been paying for 20 or 30 years, and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But there are options that these clients may need to learn about, because there is what's known as a life settlement option, that where you could get a big chunk of the cash value, and in many cases, more cash value to sell that policy than to just let it go and not pay the premium. And that's what we want our viewers to know. Don't become so discouraged that you're thinking, I don't want to pay this anymore, so I'm gonna just let it go. I'm gonna let it lapse. That may be the worst thing you could possibly do. I know I carried a 25-year term for my wife, and after that 25 years was up, like 3-4 years ago, I didn't renew it, right? And our health can change. And a lot of times, if you've got maybe a universal life policy, there is some things you can do to convert that to a regular whole life type of policy. Maybe, reduce the face amount, not pay any more premiums again, but have a death benefit that's going to be permanent instead of giving up and letting it all go. We just want our clients to know there are a lot of options out there that didn't exist years ago. And please, if you're watching, don't let an old policy necessarily go until you find out what all your options are. I can't tell you how many times over the last 20 years we took an old policy, we kept the premium exactly the same, but they got a lot more death benefit. Now, you still have to be insurable, that's true, but for a lot of our clients, that's the case. So why not look into that? Or you could keep the face amount, that what we call the death benefit, the same, but reduce the premium quite a bit with a new policy. So again, I just want our viewers to know there's a lot of options out there that you can take advantage of. You just need to learn about them. So if you're firm that you're working with doesn't even want to talk to you about life insurance, get a second opinion, because it is a underserved market. There are a lot of policies out there, Brett. I know you probably have one. I've had them. So again, find out what your options are before you make a decision that you could end up regretting once you learn about what you could have done.
And the truth of it is sometimes it is the best thing to let it go.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
We see a lot of people that move into retirement that are overinsured really at that stage in their life. When you're younger and you've got a mortgage on the home still, you may need this big chunk of funds that if something happened to your spouse, you can help cover the mortgage, hopefully pay it off, pay for child care. There's kind of a lot of risk associated around that time. But as you get older, if the home is paid off, the kids have moved out, if you have done a good job with your retirement plan and the income is set for both of your lifetimes, you know what that future looks like, there may not be a need for this large life insurance policy that's costing you, however much per month. Now, that being said, if it's something that you bought in your 30s and the premium is very low,
Yes.
it may be still a good idea to keep it, even
If
though
you were
don't
smart
need it.
a long time ago.
Right, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So
Yes.
when you got it really does impact that decision, what you're paying. You know, there's a lot to it. And sometimes we see folks that kind of look at that life insurance premium as just like this monthly bill that's optional. But it's really about, what are you paying for? Are you getting what you're paying for? And does that potentially serve this purpose for you in your life, or for your spouse in their life as well? That's on the term side of things. But as Mark mentioned, there's other types of life insurance policies. And in reality, the life insurance world, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of uneducation that happens when it comes to the life insurance side. And oftentimes we see folks using life insurance as something to create income in their retirement, tax-free income in their retirement. So these are all planning tools, but it really starts with a conversation first.
I'll agree with it. I think you guys talk about this, and I'll let you go real quick. On maximizing and optimizing a lot of different things that we can strategize, because what was old may now be old.
Right.
And there are new tools that we can use, investigating what we can do to optimize and maximize what you have.
You know, I just want to say one quick thing. One of the most powerful reasons that life insurance can be such a wonderful tool is it can create tax-free death benefit, especially when we want to move money to our children. We get leverage, maybe depending on the age, like Casey mentioned. If I put in $1, but I get $4 tax-free to my children, that's some leverage that you really can't beat. And you don't want to lose sight of that when we do in this type of planning, because it can be one of the most powerful tools that anyone will ever be able to take advantage of. But again, you have to do it when you're healthy enough to qualify, because underwriting can be a hurdle that a lot of folks that may learn about it and want to do it, but they can't get over the hurdle now, right? They can't jump high enough because they don't have good enough health.
It's putting a plan together. Yeah, get on this. 844-342-7142. Putting the whole plan together. It's building an income that's going to last, but there are a lot of pieces within this. Thanks for spending time with us. It is time for you to do something for yourself, making that call to put together an appointment for a complimentary written financial plan to investigate how you're going to optimize and maximize your retirement for a long time. We hope. We don't know. The crystal ball's not there. Let's put a plan together for all the what ifs. Thanks for being with us. Hope to see you in the office. We'll be back here next time on Elevate Your Wealth.